Welcome in, everybody. It's high school football, Alabama, back to football season. Tommy Wood along with Jon Holder, our first edition here in the 2018 football season. And John, it's good to be back talking about some high school football.
Yeah, normally we're in studio, but today's such a nice day. The weather is going to be fantastic. Over the next couple of days, we're going to have a touch of fall in the air all across the state of Alabama. So we brought it outside. We are here, if you're not familiar with our location, this is Jack Stewart Field, Sac Stadium, right outside of Anniston, Sacs, Alabama. Wildcats, one of the teams that will be playing coming up on Friday night in week 0 of the high school season. About 50% of the teams maybe playing football this first week. Sacs will be one of those. They will not be playing here, Tommy.
Right.
They've got a long road trip as they'll travel down to Montgomery to take on Alabama Christian, who was a very good team in 4A last year. Sacs was a very good team in 4A last year, dropping to 3A, but that, I think, is probably one of the better games coming up in week 0 of the high school season.
Let's talk about week 0 a little bit. Some teams are playing jamborees. We don't spend a lot of time because a lot of matchups, maybe 2 or 3 teams playing in a particular place, so we don't spend a lot of time with that, but we will talk about some of the games that are for real. We'll talk about that as we continue here on High School Football Alabama. We want to welcome you and also appreciate our sponsors. B&R Tractor in Lineville, there's some great folks to know if you're looking for zero-turn lawnmowers. They've got all kinds of tractor equipment. They do tires and all kinds of good stuff. You'll see their spot during our broadcast each and every week. Some great folks there. And also Simmons Staffing. Some folks that are good folks to know, especially if you're looking for any kind of employment. They've got job openings all over the area and some great paying jobs that they can tell you more about. So we encourage you to check them out as well. And it's simmonsstaffing.com and you'll find out more about those. But you know, a lot has changed in the last several months since we were back standing in the snow over in Bryant-Denny Stadium, finishing up the Super 7 last year. And during the off season, one thing that we want to touch on this morning, the instant replay was proposed by the Athletic Association. Not a lot of teams and schools have subscribed to that, but it is still something that's going to be out there for us to consider this season.
Well, the big thing is Alabama, the first state in the country, I guess we're the guinea pig, Tommy. First state in the country that is going to have instant replay for the regular season of high school football. That's never been done before. There's been some experiments in other states, championship events and things like that. But this year in the state of Alabama, any school that's a member of the Alabama High School Athletic Association could opt in and choose to have instant replay if they want to. As you mentioned earlier, the latest hot off the press information we have from the Athletic Association looks like roughly 16, maybe 17 schools in the entire state that will be choosing to do that this year. And that will be at home games. It won't be at every game. It won't be in effect when they go on the road, as we understand it, but it will be in home games. And that's about 4% of the schools in Alabama.
Well, I think that the Athletic Association was hoping for a bigger turnout of schools to subscribe through DV Sports. They were shooting for 80 to 100 teams and schools, but that is a very low number. So a lot of you may not be affected at all when you go on Friday night, but if you do see the instant replay at the stadium, don't be alarmed. It is available to all the schools, but I think the prohibitive thing is the cost. It's $3,500 up front and about $1,000 a year, and I think a lot of your smaller schools especially unable to swing that right now.
And Tommy, one of the things that it will affect is the state championship games in Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium in December. All 7 of those state championship games will have instant replay. I know, Tommy, we'll talk more about this, but coming up Thursday night and Friday night, Champions Challenge in Montgomery at Crampton Bowl, both of those games will have instant replay.
Absolutely. Also, as you know, this is one of those reclassification years, one of those that folks sit around and wait for the computer to pop up, find out what region they're in, what class they're in, and let's talk about some of the big changes, especially down in Class 1A and 2A.
Well, we're going to begin each week. We're going to take you through every classification. We'll focus on our home area, East Alabama. Then we'll give you a little statewide flavor as well, and we'll hit every classification. So I think that's the big thing that we pride ourselves on. We're not going to talk just about the big 6A and 7As. We're going to give equal time to the 1A and 2A schools as well. So let's begin in Class 1A. I think in our part of the state of Alabama, to what stands out to me is Spring Garden.
Absolutely.
Has been in the north, so to speak. They're still in the north as far as the bracket goes for the playoffs, but they've been in a northern region that had folks like Cedar Bluff, Galesville, Woodville, Coosa Christian, Valley Head. Now they're jumping into a much tougher region as they kind of shift southward. And folks like Ragland, Talladega County Central, Winterboro, Donahoe, Victory Christian, those kind of folks, that's a much tougher region.
Yeah, I think so, and that's something, when you have the situation where you're not familiar with them, a lot of times you've not seen these teams before, trying to get that familiarity is a big thing.
It really is, and I think the athleticism is bigger in this region. You got teams with maybe more tradition in this region, just a tougher schedule from top to bottom all the way around for Spring Garden. So Spring Garden's got a lot of starters back, but they've, to be honest with you, I think even Jason Howard probably would admit to you, the head football coach out there, they have had in the last several years in the region they've been in 2 or 3 games, maybe 4 even, where they could basically play their B or C game and still come out with a win. That will not be what's going on as they move into this new region with the Donahoes and Raglands and TCCs and Winterboros of the world. I think a very balanced region. Hard to predict who's going to win that region. There's any number of teams that could catch on fire and win that region. I think around the state, the big thing is, Tommy, you and I were talking about it, 1A, especially 1A South, it may be the toughest classification in this state, relatively speaking, because in the South, St. Luke's Episcopal, 2A powerhouse, moving down. Elba, 2A powerhouse, moving down. Defending 2A state champion Lynette, moving down. I mean, the South is totally loaded in Class 1A, beginning with the defending state champion who's loaded again in the Lynette Panthers.
That's right. You talk about Lynette. This is a 1A program, and as you and I were talking, 2 players headed to the SEC. I mean, these guys are a talented group. They ran through 2A last year and then dropped down to 1A this year. They're the #1 team in Class 1A, and right behind them, Sweetwater. But it's going to be a tough out for anybody that takes on Lynette.
Well, one thing, we're going to have a new state champion in Class 1A for sure, and I would say that, well, no, that's not for sure. Sweetwater's still in there, but I think what I wanted to say is I think our state champion definitely, I'm going to make a bold prediction, not very bold, they're going to come out of the South.
That's a tough one.
South is loaded. 2A, right around here in East Alabama, Ohatchee, who has been really good in Class 3A the last 2 years, Tommy, moving down to Class 2A, I think that is huge.
Yeah, I think it opens up a lot of possibilities for the Indians, and as you said, the last several years you've seen this program continue to stay right near the top of Class 3A, and you move them down to 2A, play some competition that is pretty much the same size schools. Ohatchee, I think that's another team where you look at it, they've got a lot of great opportunities this season.
Well, stood toe-to-toe in the spring at Jack State with 5A Alexandria. They may be one of the top 2 teams in the North, along with Fife.
Yeah, and some of the other things in Class 2A, John, who are some of the other folks that we can keep an eye on, especially in the south half of 2A?
You know, the south half of 2A, it's anybody's ball game down there in the south, I think, at this point in time. With Lynette moving on, then you start looking as, is Luverne, we're going to have the Panthers down there. What are they going to do? I mean, the Tigers, what are they going to do down there? I mean, there's any number of teams. I think for the first time, the South may be really wide open, and we may see the shift of power go back to the North in Class 2A.
You're watching the first edition of 2018 High School Football Alabama. We'll take this time out and come back. We'll take a look at Class 3A and 4A as we continue right after this.
Are you looking for employment? Then look no further than Simmons Staffing. Home-owned and operated by Rusty and Becky Simmons, 99% of the jobs result in full-time placement. Right now, Simmons Staffing has a large number of opportunities available for skilled trade applicants. For welders, electricians, carpenters, machine operators, and many more, they are easily placed by Simmons Staffing. They also have a variety of clerical and professional opportunities available now as well. Simmons Staffing never charges employees for any type of fee just to work. So fill out an application today at simmonsstaffing.com or in person at the office located 1516 Quintard Avenue, Suite B in Anniston. Also check out the Simmons Staffing Facebook page where it's updated weekly to include current job opportunities. Simmons Staffing would like to invite every job seeker to come experience their friendly approach to job placement. Rusty and Becky Simmons take pride in helping employees accomplish their goals and find their lifelong career. So check them out online at simmonsstaffing.com. When it comes to taking care of your lawn, Exmark is mowing down the competition. From walk-behind and stand-on mowers to the ultra-popular zero-turn for residential and commercial, Exmark is a cut above. If you're looking for the absolute best deal on Exmark equipment, make the beautiful trip to Lineville to B&R Tractor and Equipment. Take it from me, B&R Tractor offers incredible pricing and as low as 0% financing. Check out B&R Tractor on Facebook or give them a call at 256-396-0343. B&R Tractor, your authorized Exmark dealer.
Back on high school football, Alabama, Jon Holder, Tommy Wood here on the first edition, getting you ready for the 2018 season. We're talking a lot about reclassification as the teams found out during the offseason how it was going to shake out for the next 2 seasons. And we continue our look with Class 3A and 4A, John.
And Class 3A, the big move, we talked about it right here where we are. We are at Jack Stewart Field at Sachs, here right outside of Anniston. And Sachs last year had the most wins in school history, 13 wins, 13-1, state semifinals in 4A, dropping down to Class 3A again. Now, Sachs was a team last year that lost a lot of players.
Absolutely.
But watching them in the spring, Tommy, they were so very impressive. They bring back Jonathan Cobb, who I think has the potential to be an all-state running back in Class 3A. And their offensive line, we hear some noise out there that this might be possibly the best offensive line, 1A through 5A in the state of Alabama. They've got Caleb Ogle up there, Mario Thomas, and then, of course, Jalen Childs already committed to Troy. Mario Thomas already committed to Kennesaw State. Ogle's probably going to go somewhere. This is a 3A offensive line that is probably going to have 3 future college football players. And let us tell you about Childs. Childs maybe go higher than Troy. I know you Troy fans out there don't want to think about this.
Right.
But if he has a fantastic senior year, and I think he will out here on Jack Stewart Field, he may get looks from even higher on the pecking order there than even Troy.
You know, you talk about when you talk about some of these recruits and you say, you know, stock is rising. Jalen Childs, his stock in the last 12 months has really jumped off the charts.
Probably has risen as much as any football player in the state of Alabama, and that's not hyperbole. Last year, a guy that nobody knew him a whole lot. He's 6'4", 285, 290, and in the off-season, summer workouts and so forth, he just impressed everybody, brought a lot of big-name coaches. Jody Whaley is the principal here at Sachs High School, and he said, I've been a principal for 17 years, John, and he said, I've never had more college coaches come through a school in my life than we had this year looking at Jalen Childs.
Yeah, very talented team at Sachs. What are some other teams in our area in Class 3A that we can keep an eye on?
Well, I tell you, another prediction, I don't think it's a really bold one, but I'll say right now, the state champion, I believe in Class 3A this year is going to come out of this region, this 3A Region 6 that we are in this year. It has been dominant for the last couple of years, and I think it's going to be a dominant region again because not only Sachs in that region, Randolph County, who was the state runner-up last year, you know, Tommy, got a lot of great players coming back. They are loaded. You always have to talk about the Piedmont Bulldogs.
Absolutely.
Piedmont lost a lot, but they've got a good core of players back. Great tradition, great coaching. They'll be in the thick of things in 3A North. And the Weaver Bearcats, big rival of Sachs here, just about 3 miles up the road. Daryl Hamby's last year as the head coach of the Weaver Bearcats, and they've got Shamar Spinks at tailback, Robert Gaines stepping in at quarterback for the graduated Dalton Hamby, Caleb Allison. They've got some great defensive players. This may be the best Weaver team in about 13 years. Yeah. And all 4 of those teams are in that same region, not to include Walter Welborn, Pleasant Valley, Glencoe, B.B. Comer moves into that region this year. Again, it will be top to bottom, no question about it, the best region in 3A in the state.
So you look last year, of course, Ohatchee in that region pretty much, and then they move out. Well, here comes Sachs in there. So you don't really get a break if you're in this region. This is going. I'm like you, John. I think this is going to be one of the strongest regions in the state, especially in Class 3A.
And really, you look at the South, the region, Class 3A Region 1 really got decimated because the defending state champion Hillcrest Evergreen moved up. Clark County moved up. Still got Mobile Christian there. Thomasville, fantastic program, moving down from 4A to 3A. And you got Bayside Academy, who has a solid program, and a school by the name of T.R. Miller.
Yeah, don't forget him.
Keith Etheridge, who had that great powerhouse program at Leeds that he was the architect of, moving down to be the head coach at T.R. Miller. So I think that region and this region, the region down in the Southwest Alabama Region 1 and this region here, I think your state championship game probably is going to be teams from those 2 regions.
Let's move ahead to Class 4A, and I think if you're looking for a team from this area that's the winner in Class 4A, it's got to be Cleburne County to get out of 5A South and get a chance to come into Class 4A and playing a lot of schools they're familiar with over the last few years. So I think Cleveland County is the big winner in 4A.
Yeah, Cleveland County, from a gate standpoint, from fan interest, I heard Coach Short on TV 24 talking with Gerhard Mathangani on the local news just a couple of nights ago, just talking about how, you know, they see the players on our program, Pigskin Roundup, they read about them, they see them out and about around town. You know, when they were in that other region, those schools were maybe 80, 90 miles away. These schools now, I think with the exception of Aniana, most every other school is within 30 to 40 minutes, something like that. A lot of the old traditional rivals that they have in there, you know, your Anistons and your Jacksonvilles and Cherokee County and Hoax Bluff and folks like that. So, and that region, you know, I think you have to probably start off with Hoax Bluff because with Darian Meads coming back, Ashton Gullidge, who will move into quarterback, Braden Hill at wide receiver, they have the most coming back. So Mike Robertson, regardless of what he'll tell you, he's got a good team coming back. They kind of seem to be right now at the top, but the other 7 teams in that region, Tommy?
Yeah. I think it's wide open. I mean, I've looked at this region, and like you said, you know, you've got these guys, Jacksonville. I think Anniston's going to be much improved under Coach Rico White. They come in, they have had a great offseason, and I think that they will be improved. I think, as you mentioned, you know, you've got so much talent in this region alone. This is going to be a very interesting Class 4A region. You talk about Cleveland County, some playmakers, Richard Cantrell, that ran back up at Oxford. He is now at Cleveland County. He is a game breaker type running back. He's going to be really a big star, I think, for the Cleveland County Tigers. A.J. Brown in there as well. So Reese Morrison takes over at quarterback there at Cleveland County. I think they will be much improved. And again, jumping to 4A and playing schools your same size is going to help a lot.
And if you talk with the folks at Jacksonville, Clint Smith and his team, they feel like this is kind of their year where they've got all the pieces in place to really make a run. Keep in mind, last year they beat Hoax Bluff. And they beat them 28-27, a great football game at Jacksonville. That game will be at Hoax Bluff this year. So keep that in mind. Jacksonville, you know, might be athlete-wise and talent-wise, might be the most talented team in that region. It's going to be fun to watch. Aniana with a new coach, Asheville with a new coach again. Cherokee County got some talent up there as well. Anniston going to be loaded with talent, a new head coach. So that's the mystery region.
It really is.
In this whole part of the state, to me, Tommy, there's just so much surrounding what's going on with this region here in Class 4A.
When we continue, we're going to break down Class 5A, 6A, 7A, tell you some games that are coming up this weekend that you don't want to miss as we continue in a moment on High School Football, Alabama.
When it comes to taking care of your lawn, Exmark is mowing down the competition. From walk-behind and stand-on mowers to the ultra-popular zero-turn for residential and commercial, Exmark is a cut above. If you're looking for the absolute best deal on Exmark equipment, make the beautiful trip to Lineville to B&R Tractor and Equipment. Take it from me, B&R Tractor offers incredible pricing and as low as 0% financing. Check out B&R Tractor on Facebook or give them a call at 256-396-0343. B&R Tractor, your authorized Exmark dealer. Are you looking for employment? Then look no further than Simmons Staffing. Home-owned and operated by Rusty and Becky Simmons, 99% of the jobs result in full-time placement. Right now, Simmons Staffing has a large number of opportunities available for skilled trade applicants. For welders, electricians, carpenters, machine operators, and many more, they are easily placed by Simmons Staffing. They also have a variety of clerical and professional opportunities available now as well. Simmons Staffing never charges employees for any type of fee just to work. So fill out an application today at simmonsstaffing.com or in person at the office located 1516 Quintard Avenue, Suite B in Anniston. Also check out the Simmons Staffing Facebook page where it's updated weekly to include current job opportunities. Simmons Staffing would like to invite every job seeker to come experience their friendly approach to job placement. Rusty and Becky Simmons take pride in helping employees accomplish their goals and find their lifelong career. So check them out online at simmonsstaffing.com.
We continue our preview of week 1 of the high school football season, looking at the classifications because it took a change here in the off season, but we continue to look with Class 5A, 6A, and 7A. And John, let's talk a little bit about Class 5A. I think in our area, we talked about Cleveland County being the winner in 4A. I think you look at Clay Central, they may be the winner in 5A.
Well, Clay Central, a lot like Cleveland County in the fact they didn't change classifications, but they did move into the north as far as a playoff bracket goes, and I think that's huge. Since the inception of that school, they have been in the south. So they're going to get to play some teams they're a little bit more familiar with.
Exactly.
They've been playing Munford all along in non-region. That'll now be a region game with Munford moving up for the first time ever from 4A to 5A. Sylacauga still stays in there. And then, you got your St. Clair counties and folks like that. I think all in all, from a travel standpoint, a fan interest standpoint, I think Clay County, Central Clay County is very, very happy to be for the first time ever in the North bracket in 5A. And the North bracket has been in traditionally the last several years, maybe a little bit easier path to the Super 7.
Well, and I think they're also happy. Danny Horn, of course, that led Clay County to all that success back at Clay Central, and I think that fans, there's a rejuvenated interest there as far as at Central Clay County. What are some other teams in Class 5A? I know that Etowah, they are so strong. Now, tonight you got Etowah and Gadsden City going to play, and that is going to be a good barometer for that team.
I will be at that game tonight at Jim Glover Field in Attala. The only thing I can say for sure that's going to happen there is they are going to be packed out. I wouldn't be surprised, 10 or 15,000 fans at Jim Glover Field in Attala for the two next door neighbors. They haven't played each other since 2009. Etowah's never beaten Gadsden City in the 4 times that they have played, and Gadsden City's kind of had their way with them. Much bigger school, obviously. But this is an Etowah team. Last year, they went deeper in the playoffs, really had the best season that they've had since that 99 state championship team with Carnell Williams. They feel like this year they're even better. They have about 6 Division I prospects on the team. Coach Drew Knowles feels like this is a team that can make a big run to Birmingham. Briarwood Christian, who knocked them out last year, moves to the south this year. So right now, you look at that north bracket, Etowah going in, I think, is the favorite in the north to maybe make it down to Auburn. But it's going to be a fantastic game because we know the talent that Gadsden City has.
Yeah, and Class 5A, again, those are your northern teams. We talk about Central Clay, you talk about Etowah. Who in the south in Class 5A? You got, of course, you look at the normal contenders there.
Well, 6 of the last 8 years, the state champion has been either Spanish Fort or St. Paul's. Spanish Fort, a couple of years ago when we moved to 7A, they moved up to 6A. And this year, with the competitive balance that was instituted by the Athletic Association, St. Paul's, your defending 5A state champion, moved from 5A to 6A. So 6 of the last 8 state champions in 5A are gone. So the South now is wide open. So you start looking at maybe Viger down the South. That's a team that could possibly make some noise down there. There's a lot of teams in the South, but no front runner in the past because you just have a lot of teams that maybe Demopolis down there, that might be a team to keep an eye on. But I think the South for the first time in 6 or 8 years is kind of sort of wide open, and we may see a shift of power now with Central Clay and Etowah and folks like that. We may see a shift coming back from south to north over the next couple of years.
Let's talk about Class 6A. The Oxford Yellow Jackets, one of our local teams that we talk about week in and week out. They change regions, and when I say they change regions, they really jumped out of the frying pan straight into the fire because this in Class 6A is more than likely, to me, the strongest region in Class 6A.
Spring Garden changing regions in 1A is nothing compared to Oxford changing regions. They go from a region, to be honest with you, it was the weakest region in all of Class 6A. No more AP Brewers, no more Fort Paynes and Albertvilles and folks like that in there. Nothing against those teams. But you compare those names and those programs to Clay Chalkville, defending state champion Pinson Valley with the #1 quarterback in America in high school football, Gardendale, who we saw in the spring, who looked like a college team, Shades Valley, who, man, they took Pinson Valley to overtime last year in that region, not to mention Huffman and a very improved Pell City team. And then you throw Oxford in there. I think top to bottom, this is the best region in Class 6A. So Oxford basically goes from really the worst region in 6A to the best region in 6A.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle week in and week out for the Yellow Jackets, and we'll talk about the schedule coming up in just a few moments. Let's take a quick look at Class 7A and how that shakes out here in 2018.
Well, we'll begin locally. Our only local 7A team is the Gadsden City Titans. Bart Sessions, year #2. He told me over the summer, they came in last year kind of under the gun. A lot of changes in the coaching staff, obviously. implementing his program. He said we're so far ahead of where we were last year. Coaches are on the same page, players on the same page. They've been in the program for a year. We just feel like we are so much further ahead than we were last year. Brought in Mark Heaton as the new offensive coordinator, former head coach at Russellville. They're very excited about that. Some other big changes in the coaching staff there. They've got about 3 coaches on staff that have been head coaches before. So it's an experienced staff, some experienced players. They're the mystery team. They're always, I think, one of the scariest teams in 7A. And I think this year, 3-7, they are totally under the radar. They could make a big statement Thursday night at Jim Glover Field against number 2 ranked 5A Etowah right off the bat. Be interesting to see. Around the state, until further notice, I mean, it has been, since we went to 7A, it has been Hoover and McGill-Toolen.
That's it.
And until someone in the north can knock off Hoover, hello here at Trussville, are you going to Thompson?
That's right.
And in the south, can anybody knock off McGill-Toolen? Looking at you, Central Phoenix City possibly, folks like that. But until one of those teams can knock off a McGill-Toolen and a Hoover, I think you got to look at those 2 teams being the favorites again.
Of course, the first weekend, this is week 0 of high school football. John, let's talk about some of the games that are for real this week. These are not jamboree games, the games that really match up. And I think the big one Thursday in Talladega is going to be a huge game.
Well, it's the beginning of the Todd Ginn era. Of course, Coach Ginn is the son of the legendary Larry Ginn at Alexandria. His first game coaching as head coach of the Alexandria Valley Cubs. It'll be a special night for all Alexandria people when they meet at Mary Dumas Stadium against a very much improved Talladega team. Also Thursday, a game that I'll be at. We mentioned that Gadsden City Etowah game at Jim Glover Field in Attala. And then coming up on Friday night, you and I will both be at a interesting matchup.
Very interesting matchup as the Munford Lions will host the Oxford Yellow Jackets. They will kick things off at 7 o'clock. I'll be there as I do the play-by-play for WVOK 97.9, so we'll be broadcasting that game. 10 miles apart. They've not met since the mid-70s, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Another packed house expected.
They may sell parking spaces at the Anniston Airport.
Probably.
That may be the closest place you can get. My crew will be there from Pigskin Roundup TV 24. Highlights, that's our game of the week, complete highlights and post-game reaction after the game on TV 24. And you can watch us live streaming at tv24.tv Friday night, 10:30 until 12:30.
Yeah, you need to check out Pigskin Roundup. Always fun each and every week, and so look forward to that throughout the season. Another big matchup we want to mention before we get out of here, and that's on Saturday, taking place at Hoover.
Well, we got 2 matchups, both on national television on the ESPN family of networks. Number 1 Hoover, number 1 Pinson Valley, number 1 in 7A versus number 1 in 6A, both defending state champions. That's the 11 o'clock game. And then after that, in the middle of the afternoon in the heat, Cedar Grove, Georgia, one of the top teams in the state of Georgia, coming in to take on a Hewitt-Trussville team that talent-wise may have the most talent of anybody in the state of Alabama. 4 or 5 guys already committed to Alabama, and that won't be the end of it. 2 phenomenal games there taking place at the Hoover Met on Saturday.
Find out all of the local games. Another we want to mention, Leeds and Sylacauga. Also Cleburne County Weaver on Friday night. Couple of huge games there.
Yeah, Leeds Sylacauga will be live on TV 24 from Mary Dumas Stadium in Sylacauga with our partners TV 47 down in Sylacauga. And of course, we'll have highlights of that Cleburne County Weaver game coming up from Bill Bryan Stadium out at Weaver. Bart Sessions, head coach of Gadsden City, and Mike Robertson, head coach of Hoax Bluff, will be our guest on the Roundup.
Well, John, week 1 about to get started here. We're about to be back in high school football once again.
Yes, we will. We're glad we want to thank Jody Whaley and Jonathan Miller and the folks at Sachs High School for having us here on campus today for our very first edition of High School Football Alabama. Every week during the high school football season, look for us on Facebook Live and on YouTube.
All right, thanks to our sponsors once again, B&R Tractor, as well as Simmons Staffing. Go by and send them a little note, tell them you appreciate them bringing you High School Football Alabama. We'll see you next week with another edition of High School Football Alabama.